January 29th, 1945, 2:47 in the afternoon, Holzheim, Belgium. The snow is thick, churned brown and gray from boots, blood, and artillery blasts. The village is half destroyed. Shattered roofs, collapsed walls, doors hanging from hinges. Smoke drifts lazily between broken chimneys. The Battle of the Bulge is ending, but nobody here feels relief. Every house still hides danger. First Sergeant Leonard Funk moves along the outer wall of a farmhouse, Thompson's submachine gun resting against his chest. He is not rushing. He is not nervous. He is checking on prisoners captured earlier in the afternoon. Nearly 80 German soldiers taken during Company C's assault on the village. The fight for Holzheim had been brutal but controlled. House to house, room to room, grenades thrown through doorways, rifle shots in stairwells. The Germans had finally surrendered in clusters, disarmed, collected in the farmhouse yard, guarded by 4 American soldiers, the only men that could be spared. Funk rounds the corner, and the world shifts. The yard is filled with Germans, not kneeling, not disarmed, standing, armed, 90 of them. Some already holding rifles, others pulling weapons from a pile in the snow, machine guns being repositioned, ammunition belts dragged into place. 4 American soldiers kneel in the snow, hands locked behind their heads. In less than 20 minutes, everything has reversed. A German patrol, white camouflage cloaks blending perfectly into the winter landscape, had slipped in, overpowered the guards, freed the prisoners. 80 captives rearmed in moments. Now they are organizing. Company C is scattered through the village finishing clearing operations. If 90 Germans strike from behind, it will not be a firefight. It will be an execution. And Leonard Funk has just walked into the center of it. A German officer steps forward immediately. The sergeant stripes on Funk's sleeve mark him as leadership, a valuable prisoner. The officer presses an MP-40 into Funk's stomach. Cold metal. He shouts sharply in German. Funk does not speak German. The officer repeats the order, louder, face reddening, veins standing out in his neck. Funk looks at the gun pressed against him, looks at 90 armed soldiers, looks at his 4 Americans kneeling helplessly. The mathematics are absolute. 90 to 1. And Leonard Funk begins to laugh. Long before that laugh echoed across the snow, Leonard Alfred Funk Jr. was born into smoke and steel. August 27, 1916, Braddock Township, Pennsylvania. Steel mills dominated the skyline. Furnace stacks belched smoke into the sky. The Monongahela River carried barges loaded with iron and coal. Work was hard. Life was harder. The Great Depression struck while Funk was still a teenager. Jobs disappeared overnight. Families stretched every dollar. Responsibility was not optional. By the time he graduated high school in 1934, Funk was already helping support his household and caring for his younger brother. College was not realistic. Stability mattered more than ambition. In June 1941, as war consumed Europe and Asia, the draft expanded. Funk's number came up. He reported to the induction center at Wilkinsburg, Pennsylvania. 5 feet, 5 inches tall, about 140 pounds. The Army examiner likely saw a clerk. They were wrong. Funk volunteered for airborne forces. In 1941, American paratroopers were experimental, a risky concept borrowed from European military theory. Jumping from aircraft into hostile territory sounded reckless to most soldiers. Volunteers had to be different. Training was intentionally brutal. Weeks of relentless physical punishment, obstacle courses, forced marches, tower jumps, live aircraft exits. Half the candidates washed out before earning wings.
The first time stepping out of a C-47 at over 1,000 feet, every instinct screams to grab the doorframe and refuse. Funk stepped anyway. He earned his jump wings and joined Company C, 1st Battalion, 508th Paratroop Infantry Regiment. By late 1943, the 508th shipped to England and attached to the 82nd Airborne Division, veterans of Sicily and Italy. Most of the men around Funk had already jumped into combat. Many had already buried friends. At 27 years old, Funk was older than most of his squad mates. In airborne units, youth dominated. But Funk had steadiness, a calm confidence that made men listen. By the spring of 1944, he was a squad leader. Soon he would be acting company executive officer. But first, he had to survive Normandy. June 6, 1944, 1:30 in the morning. The C-47 vibrates violently as anti-aircraft shells burst around it. Tracer rounds streak upward like red comets. The aircraft flies dangerously low, roughly 400 feet, too low for safe jumping, but the pilots cannot climb through the storm of flak. Inside, paratroopers stand hooked to the static line cable, 60 pounds of equipment hanging from their bodies. Funk grips his M1A1 Thompson, ammunition, grenades, rations, medical kit, everything he needs strapped to him. Fragments ping against the fuselage. The green light flashes. He jumps. The prop blast slams into him. Then silence as the parachute deploys. Below him lies occupied France. The drop scatters across miles, aircraft formations disrupted by flak. Paratroopers land far from designated zones. Some land directly into German encampments and are killed before cutting free. Funk hits the ground hard.
His ankle twists violently on impact. Pain shoots up his leg. It may be fractured. It is certainly badly sprained. He buries his parachute and begins moving. He is roughly 40 miles from his intended drop zone, alone, in darkness, in enemy territory. Within hours, he begins encountering other scattered paratroopers, men from different companies, different regiments, all disoriented. They need direction. Funk provides it. Despite his injury, he places himself at the front as lead scout, the most dangerous position. For 10 days, they move behind German lines, traveling at night, hiding by day, avoiding patrols, engaging only when unavoidable. 18 men eventually form around him. Every one survives. On June 17th, they reconnect with Allied forces, 10 days behind enemy lines, 40 miles of occupied territory, not a single casualty under his improvised command. For that leadership, Funk receives the Silver Star. He also earns a Bronze Star and his first Purple Heart. But the war is far from finished. September 17th, 1944, Holland. By late summer, the Allies are no longer fighting to survive. They're fighting to finish the war. France has been liberated. Paris has fallen. German forces are retreating toward their borders, battered but still dangerous. The question in Allied headquarters isn't can we win, it's how fast can we win. Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery believes he has the answer. Operation Market Garden. A plan so bold it borders on reckless. An airborne assault to seize a chain of bridges across the Netherlands, followed by a lightning ground advance up a single narrow highway. If the bridges are captured intact and the ground forces link up quickly, the Allies can punch straight into Germany and end the war by Christmas. On paper, it's brilliant. In reality, it demands perfection. Market Garden is the largest airborne operation in history. Roughly 35,000 paratroopers dropped behind enemy lines in one day. British, American, and Polish airborne units all jumping together. The air is thick with aircraft and gliders, a moving city in the sky. It's a spectacle of modern war, massive, coordinated, and terrifying. The airborne troops must do the impossible: land, organize, seize bridges, and hold them long enough for armored columns to arrive. 7 key bridges,
64 miles of enemy territory, one road. If anything goes wrong, if a bridge is destroyed, if the highway is blocked, if the enemy reacts faster than predicted, the whole plan collapses. And everything goes wrong. The first British airborne lands near Arnhem, the farthest objective, the final bridge over the Rhine. Intelligence has underestimated German strength in the region. SS Panzer divisions, battle-hardened armored units, are in the area when they are not supposed to be. Within hours, British paratroopers are surrounded by tanks and infantry they never expected to face. The fight becomes a slow-motion disaster. 9 days of street combat, desperate defense, and death. Only a fraction of the division escapes. Arnhem becomes a warning to every planner who ever believed war could be controlled by optimism.
But Leonard Funk doesn't see Arnhem. He doesn't know the operation's grand strategy or its looming failure. He knows only what a paratrooper always knows: jump, assemble, seize the objective, kill Germans, hold ground. That's the job. And he does it. His unit lands, secures its immediate objectives, and begins operating in the chaotic Dutch countryside. The terrain is flat and open, dotted with canals, dikes, small villages, and farm fields. The enemy is everywhere and nowhere: small patrols, hidden machine guns, sudden bursts of fire from hedgerows. You can't relax for a second. Then Funk notices something that changes everything. Off in the distance, 3 German 20mm anti-aircraft guns are firing at the incoming Allied gliders. The gliders are vital. They bring everything airborne units lack: jeeps, artillery pieces, ammunition, medical supplies, radio gear, reinforcement troops. The paratroopers can land with rifles and grenades, but they can't hold bridges against armor without heavier weapons. If those 20mm guns keep firing, gliders will be shredded out of the sky. And if gliders are destroyed, men will die before they even touch the ground. Funk doesn't wait for orders. He doesn't go searching for permission. He understands immediately what those guns mean. Hundreds of lives depend on silencing them. The German gun position is dug in on elevated ground, concealed with camouflage and sandbags. The guns have overlapping fields of fire. The crew is protected. There are security troops posted around the position, ready to kill anyone who gets close. The site is built to resist exactly what Funk is about to attempt. Approximately 20 German soldiers are in and around the emplacement. Funk has 3 men. Standard doctrine would tell you not to attack. Not like this. Not uphill. Not against prepared guns. Not outnumbered 7-1. But doctrine is written for men who still believe life is guaranteed. Funk has been in Normandy. He's already walked 40 miles through enemy territory with a ruined ankle. He attacks anyway. The 4 Americans move fast, using terrain, depressions in the ground, and the chaos of the airborne landings to close the distance. Every step matters. If the Germans spot them early, they'll be cut apart by machine gun fire. If the gun crews pivot their weapons, the 20mm rounds will turn men into fragments. They hit the security detachment first. Shots at close range, quick, violent, decisive. Germans drop. The remaining guards scramble, confused, trying to understand where the attack came from. Funk doesn't let them stabilize. He drives forward. They storm the gun pits. At that range, it becomes brutal work. Grenades, rifle fire, point-blank killing. Gun crews are trained to fire at aircraft, not to defend themselves against sudden infantry attacks in their own trenches. Funk's small group has momentum, surprise, and a leader who refuses hesitation. One gun goes silent, then another, then the third. The emplacements are neutralized. The crews are dead or fleeing. The 20mm barrels, moments ago blazing at incoming gliders, are now cold. Above them, gliders continue to descend. Instead of exploding into flames, they land. Instead of corpses scattered across Dutch fields, reinforcements arrive alive. It's the kind of action that doesn't show up on big maps in headquarters, but without it, Market Garden becomes even worse than it already is.
For this assault, Funk receives the Distinguished Service Cross, the second highest decoration for valor in the U.S. Army, one step below the Medal of Honor. Now he holds a Silver Star and a Distinguished Service Cross, two of the rarest combat awards. For most soldiers, earning even one would define their entire lives. For Funk, it's just another mission completed. And still, he isn't done. Because the war is about to turn into something colder, larger, and more desperate than anything the Western Front has seen since 1940. December 16th, 1944. The German army launches its last great offensive in the West. It is a gamble born from desperation. 3 German armies surge forward, hundreds of thousands of men, tanks, artillery, and assault guns. They slam into the American lines through the Ardennes forest, aiming for Antwerp, the vital Allied port. If Antwerp falls, Allied supply lines collapse. If Allied armies are split, German leadership hopes, against reason, that the West will negotiate peace, allowing Germany to focus all remaining strength against the Soviets in the East. Hitler is betting everything on one throw. For the Americans, the offensive hits like a nightmare you can't wake up from. The sector is thinly held. Some units are green troops seeing combat for the first time. Others are exhausted veterans pulled off the line to recover. Entire formations buckle under the sudden weight of tanks and infantry crashing through snow-covered woods. Thousands of American soldiers surrender in the early chaos. A bulge forms in the Allied lines, 50 miles deep. The world will remember it as the Battle of the Bulge. It becomes the largest battle fought by the U.S. Army in World War II. Nearly 89,000 American casualties by the time it ends. And the weather is its own killer. Temperatures plunge below zero. Snow and ice choke roads. Men freeze in foxholes. Weapons jam. Engines refuse to start. Fingers go numb, making it hard to reload, hard to aim, hard to hold on to life. In that environment, rules begin to erode. Then comes Malmedy, December 17th, 1944, one day into the German offensive. A convoy from the 285th Field Artillery Observation Battalion moves near the Bognes Crossroads. They are not frontline infantry. They are observers, radio operators, support personnel. They aren't equipped to fight tanks. They run into the spearhead of an SS armored battle group, Kampfgruppe Piper. The Americans resist briefly, but the situation is hopeless. 113 Americans surrender, hands raised, disarmed, prisoners of war. They are herded into a farmer's field near the crossroads. Then the SS opens fire. Machine guns rake the line. Pistols and rifles finish the wounded. Men trying to run are cut down. Men pretending to be dead are shot in the head. Bodies collapse into the snow in heaps. 84 Americans die in that field. Some survive only by lying motionless under bodies, letting blood and snow cover them, listening to German voices and laughter as boots crunched past. Hours later, under darkness, survivors crawl away and make it back to American lines. The news spreads fast, faster than orders, faster than official investigations. A single message forms in the mind of every soldier who hears it. They are executing prisoners. And once soldiers believe surrender no longer guarantees survival, war changes. Before Malmedy, there were rules, not always followed but recognized. The Geneva Convention existed. Prisoners were taken, searched, marched to the rear. There was a grim professionalism that sometimes endured even in brutality. After Malmedy, something breaks. American soldiers swear they will never surrender to the SS. Some units quietly pass down a new understanding. SS troops are not to be trusted. If you surrender, you may die anyway. When Leonard Funk hears about the massacre, something hardens inside him. He's already seen Normandy, men drowned in flooded fields. He's already seen Holland, bodies in glider wreckage. He's seen friends killed in hedgerows, barns, and streets. But Malmedy is different. It's not combat, it's murder. Cold-blooded execution of men who surrendered in good faith. Funk makes a decision that is simple, absolute, and dangerous. He will never surrender to the Germans, not under any circumstance. That decision is not heroic in the moment. It's not shouted. It's not dramatic. It's a quiet switch flipped in the mind of a soldier who has seen too much to believe in mercy. And within weeks, in a small village called Holzheim, that decision will become the difference between survival and death. By late January 1945, the German offensive has been broken. The Allies are pushing back, driving the Germans out of the Ardennes and retaking villages buried under snow. Company C of the 508th Paratrooper Infantry is ordered to capture Holzheim. There's a problem. Company C is under strength. Casualties have eaten through leadership. The executive officer, second in command, has been killed. Men are exhausted. The roster is thin. Funk is now acting executive officer. He looks at what he has left and he makes a decision that tells you everything about his mindset. He walks to the headquarters area, tents, supply points, the back-of-house heart of the company, where clerks, cooks, and supply men normally live far from direct combat. He points at them. "You're infantry now. Grab your weapons. We're taking that village." It's not a suggestion. It's not a motivational speech. It's necessity.
He forms a makeshift platoon, around 30 men who have spent much of the war behind desks and crates. They've had basic training, yes, but many of them have never fired at a human being. They've never cleared a building. They've never felt machine gun rounds crack past their ears. Funk does not have time to turn them into paratroopers. He has to turn them into soldiers by force of situation. The march to Holzheim is 15 miles through deep snow in a driving blizzard, the kind of snow that swallows legs, the kind of wind that makes men hunch and curse and keep moving, because stopping means freezing. German artillery shells burst nearby, harassing fire, sporadic but terrifying. Shrapnel hisses through the air. Explosions throw snow into the sky. Men stumble, regain footing, and keep marching. Funk leads from the front. When they reach the outskirts of the village, Funk organizes the assault. Holzheim is small, 15 houses or so, but it is packed with enemy troops. Every building is a potential machine gun nest. Every doorway can be a trap. Grenades bounce off stone walls. Rifle fire echoes down narrow lanes. Funk and his improvised platoon move in. They clear houses one by one, kick doors, sweep rooms, take prisoners. And somehow, incredibly, they do it without losing a single American. 30 German prisoners are captured by Funk's element alone. Another unit captures roughly 50 more on the other side of town. 80 prisoners total are gathered and corralled in the yard of a farmhouse. Funk looks at his men. They are exhausted. Many of them are clerks who have just lived through their first real assault. They have been marching and fighting for hours. The village isn't completely quiet yet. There's still resistance in pockets, scattered German soldiers who haven't surrendered. Funk needs to finish clearing the village, but he doesn't have enough manpower to guard 80 prisoners properly. He can spare 4 men. 4. He assigns them anyway. "Keep them here," he tells the guards. "We'll send reinforcements when we can." Then he turns away and heads back into the fight. He has no idea what is about to happen behind him. While Funk is clearing the remaining houses, a German patrol approaches the farmhouse. 10 men, maybe 20. They are wearing white camouflage capes over their uniforms. In the storm and confusion, in the snow and swirling wind, they can look like American troops in winter gear. The 4 guards do not realize the danger until the Germans are almost on top of them. The patrol strikes fast. The Americans are overwhelmed, disarmed, forced to their knees. Then the patrol frees the prisoners. 80 German soldiers suddenly stand up as free men. They grab rifles from the weapons pile. They pull on gear. They organize. Now it's not just a patrol. It's a force. 80 freed prisoners plus the patrol that freed them. 90 German soldiers total. And they know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to attack Company C from the rear. Company C is spread through Holzheim, mopping up resistance. They are not expecting a major attack from behind.
If 90 Germans hit them now, it will be a massacre. The German officer in charge begins issuing orders. Position machine guns, set ambush points, wait for a signal, prepare to move. And that is the moment Leonard Funk walks back toward the farmhouse. He's coming to check on the prisoners. Routine. Make sure the guards are okay. See if reinforcements arrived. He's not expecting what he's about to see. He rounds the corner and freezes. His 4 guards are kneeling in the snow. The prisoners, who should be disarmed, are standing everywhere with rifles in hand. 90 armed Germans, a yard full of weapons, an ambush forming in real time. The German officer spots Funk instantly. The sergeant stripes on his sleeve mark him as a leader, a prize. The officer strides forward, shoves an MP40 into Funk's stomach and screams a command in German. Surrender. Drop your weapon. Except Funk doesn't speak German. He has no idea what the officer is saying. The officer screams again, louder. His face is red, veins bulge. Funk looks around. 90 Germans, half of them already armed. His 4 men disarmed and helpless. 1 other American beside him, equally trapped. There is no scenario where he wins this fight. The sensible thing is to surrender. But Funk remembers Malmedy. 84 Americans murdered in a field, men executed after surrendering. He has already decided he will never surrender. So instead of complying, he does something that makes no sense to anyone watching. Leonard Funk starts laughing. The yard is silent except for the wind. Snow drifts sideways across boots and bodies. Breath hangs in the air like smoke. 90 German soldiers stand armed and ready. 4 Americans kneel helpless in the snow. The German officer presses the muzzle of his MP40 harder into Funk's stomach and screams again. The tone needs no translation. Drop it. Surrender. Funk doesn't understand the words, but he understands the situation. 90-1. His men captured, a submachine gun pressed into his gut, and Leonard Funk begins to laugh. Not a small laugh, not a nervous twitch, a deep, rolling laugh that bends him slightly forward. The German officer hesitates. This is wrong. Prisoners beg. They drop weapons. They comply. They tremble. They do not laugh. The officer screams again, louder, his face flushed red with fury. Snow clings to his boots. His gloved finger tightens on the trigger. Funk laughs harder.
Later, he would say he tried to stop but couldn't. Something about being screamed at in a language he didn't understand struck him as absurd. Maybe it was stress. Maybe it was defiance. Maybe it was simply the human brain short-circuiting at the edge of death. Whatever the reason, the effect is immediate. The German officer falters. The soldiers behind him glance at each other. A few even smirk nervously. The moment is surreal. An American paratrooper laughing at certain execution while their officer screams into his face. Those seconds stretch, and in combat, seconds are currency. Still laughing, Funk slowly reaches towards the Thompson submachine gun slung over his shoulder. The motion is deliberate, unhurried. The German officer watches. Good. The American is finally surrendering the weapon. Funk's hand closes around the grip. He begins to lift it, unslinging it slowly, carefully, as if complying. The officer eases slightly. He expects to receive another prisoner, another captured American sergeant, another trophy. Then everything explodes. In one violent motion, faster than thought, Funk swings the Thompson down, levels it at chest height, and pulls the trigger. The M1A1 Thompson roars. .45 caliber rounds erupt at nearly 600 rounds per minute. At point-blank range, each round hits like a hammer. The first burst catches the German officer square in the chest. He is dead before he collapses. Funk does not pause. He cannot pause. The instant he fired that first shot, the fight became absolute. Kill them all or die. There is no middle ground. He pivots, still firing. The Thompson sprays an arc of lead into the tightly packed cluster of German soldiers behind the fallen officer.
Men scream, bodies jerk backward, rifles fall into snow, blood splashes across white ground, brass casings spin into the freezing air, landing with faint hisses in the drifts. 30 rounds vanish in seconds. The magazine runs dry. This is the critical moment. A Thompson reload takes roughly 2 seconds in practiced hands. 2 seconds is an eternity when 90 rifles are pointed at you. Funk drops the empty magazine. His hands move without conscious thought. Fresh magazine slammed in, bolt racked, weapon up. He resumes firing almost before the Germans can process what happened. At the same time, he shouts to his men, "Grab their weapons! Grab their weapons!" The 4 American guards, moments ago kneeling prisoners, lunge forward. They dive toward fallen German rifles. Snow sprays as they scramble. Some Germans attempt to return fire, but confusion dominates. Their officer is dead. No one is giving orders. No one expected the laughing American to attack. A few shots crack past Funk's head. One American beside him is hit and drops. Funk keeps firing. He moves. He forces aggression into the moment. The Germans are compressed into a yard with limited cover. Some try to aim, some hesitate, some simply stare. The Americans, now rearmed, begin firing back. What had been 90 against 1 becomes something different, a sudden crossfire inside a tight, chaotic yard. The Thompson empties again. Funk reloads again. Every movement is muscle memory. Thousands of repetitions in training condensed into instinct. The air fills with smoke, powder, shouting in German and English. Snow is no longer white. 60 seconds. That's all it takes. When the shooting stops, 21 German soldiers lie dead. 24 more are wounded. The rest, more than 40, throw down their weapons. Hands rise. The prisoners are prisoners again. The yard falls silent. Funk stands in the center of it, breath heaving, smoke rising from the barrel of his Thompson. Bodies lie around him. Snow is churned black and red. He looks at his men. "That," he reportedly says, almost casually, "was the stupidest thing I ever saw." The immediate aftermath is strangely subdued. Company C finishes securing Holzheim. The surviving German prisoners are marched to the rear, this time under heavy guard. No more chances. Funk reports the incident to his commanding officer. Just another firefight. Just another violent minute in a war full of them. But word spreads. It moves through the company first, then the battalion, then the regiment. The story becomes almost mythic. The sergeant who laughed at 90 Germans. The paratrooper who was outnumbered 90 to 1. The man who killed 21 enemy soldiers in less than a minute with a Tommy gun. Soldiers talk about courage differently after hearing it. Because what happened at Holzheim wasn't just gun skill, it wasn't just reflex, it was decision. The decision not to surrender. The decision made weeks earlier after Malmedy. When the Medal of Honor recommendation is written, the language is precise. Overwhelmingly outnumbered. Enemy weapon pressed into his stomach, pretending to comply, lightning motion, turning upon the other Germans, shouting to his men to seize enemy weapons. The recommendation moves up the chain. There is no debate, no hesitation. On September 5, 1945, in the White House Rose Garden, President Harry Truman places the Medal of Honor around Leonard Funk's neck. Truman looks at the 5'5" former Steel Town clerk and reportedly says he would rather have that medal than be president. Think about that. The most powerful man in the world at that moment, the man who had just overseen the end of World War II, looking at a compact paratrooper from Pennsylvania and saying, in effect, "I would rather be the man who did what you did." By the end of the war, Leonard Funk's decorations form one of the most extraordinary records of any American paratrooper. Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Star, Bronze Star, 3 Purple Hearts, foreign awards from France, Belgium, and the Netherlands, their equivalents of the Victoria Cross. Wounded 3 times, still fighting. 5 feet 5 inches tall, 140 pounds, a former store clerk, a legend. But the war ends, and Leonard Funk does something remarkable.
He goes home. He does not write a book. He does not tour lecture halls. He does not turn the Medal of Honor into celebrity. He returns to Pennsylvania and takes a job with the Veterans Administration. For 27 years, he works inside the bureaucracy, helping veterans file claims, navigate paperwork, receive benefits. The same quiet clerk work he once did before the war. The same steady, necessary work. He rises to become division chief of the Pittsburgh Regional Office. He marries, raises 2 daughters, lives in a working-class neighborhood not far from where he grew up. The medals sit in a case somewhere. He rarely speaks about Holzheim. When asked, he shrugs. I did what I had to do. That's all. November 20th, 1992, Leonard Alfred Funk Jr. dies of cancer at age 76. He's buried at Arlington National Cemetery. At the time of his death, he is the last surviving Medal of Honor recipient from the 82nd Airborne Division of World War II. A fitness center at Fort Liberty bears his name. A highway in Pennsylvania carries it. A post office is dedicated to him decades later. Yet most people have never heard of him. They know Audie Murphy. They know Alvin York. They do not know the short, quiet paratrooper who laughed at 90 Germans in a snowy Belgian yard. And perhaps that is fitting, because the story of Leonard Funk is not about fame. It is about something simpler. War does not favor the biggest. It does not favor the loudest. It does not even always favor the strongest. War favors the ones who can still think when everyone else freezes. At Holzheim, the numbers were impossible. 90 against 1. A gun pressed into his stomach. His men already captured. The rational choice was surrender. But Funk wasn't calculating survival odds. He was thinking about Malmedy, about 84 Americans executed after surrendering, about the 4 guards on their knees, about the soldiers scattered through the village who would be cut down from behind if those Germans attacked. So he laughed. Maybe from stress, maybe from defiance, maybe because in that frozen second the absurdity of the situation broke something loose inside him. And while the German officer hesitated, confused, angry, off balance, Leonard Funk moved. 60 seconds later, he was standing alive in a yard full of bodies. Alive when he should have been dead. That is courage. Not size, not strength, not even fearlessness. Courage is what you do when there is a gun in your stomach and 90 men want you dead.